Hey, what's up guys, TechTine here and I am back again with a brand new video. So before I begin this one, I want to genuinely thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoy my videos, make sure you leave a thumbs up, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. A lot of great content is coming really soon and I'm happy with the growth that this channel has been receiving lately and the support. So with that being said, today we're going to be reviewing the cameras on the all new OnePlus Nord N30 5G. And this is one of its main selling point just because of the flex of the specs that this camera has. So we're going to be talking about the camera specs, the design, camera interface, photo quality, video quality, and I'll kind of sum it up in a conclusion. So beginning with the camera specs themselves, so the main sensor here is a crazy 108 megapixels, which is really high resolution, and it is at f1.7 aperture. And you also get two cameras at the bottom, so you get a 2 megapixel macro sensor and a 2 megapixel depth sensor. Now, as far as your front-facing camera, you do get a 16 megapixel at f2.4 that supports also HDR and panorama, and it does shoot video at 1080p at 30 frames per second, but more on that later on. And basically the way that the cameras are designed, one, they're really large lenses, so they do stand out within the design of the phone, and they do kind of, I don't want to say they look out of place, they're really big basically. And the flash, even the flash is just absurdly bigger than it should be. But also, if you look at it from the side, this phone will not sit flat on any flat surface, so don't even think about it. I'm pretty sure a lot of people will have a case on this phone to protect the glass that's protecting the lens. As far as the interface goes, you have a couple of options. At the top, you have your really main options that you really need to be worried about, and one of them is changing the aspect ratio, whether you want it full 16:9, 4:3, or 1:1. And you also have another setting on here that will allow you to switch between high resolution and standard image quality. More on that later. And you also have the ability to turn on and off your HDR, and if you click on settings, you get some more options such as watermark, grid, and things of that nature. So you do get fair amount of settings, but they do try to keep it as simplistic as they could, which is a thumbs up in my book. Overall though, the camera app itself is genuinely quick, fast at taking pictures. Now, picture quality. So basically the story behind this phone is that sometimes I found it to be a little bit inconsistent, but I'll show you what I mean later on. And by default, this phone will not be at the highest resolution, so it will not shoot 108 megapixels by default. There you have to actually go to the option that I showed you earlier and switch from non-high resolution to high resolution. So the non-high resolution shoots automatically at 12 megapixels, which crops the 108 megapixel sensor. But when you switch it to the 108 megapixels, you do see kind of a difference, right? And with HDR on, you also get slightly more detail, and not slightly, actually really more detail, and you can zoom into your pictures as much as you want to, honestly. So you can zoom in kind of midway through, still keep a lot of detail, still, usable picture. And you can even take it to an extreme level, but you will lose a lot of image quality, but that's what the 108 megapixel sensor is for. So as far as the resolution, they got you covered easy. Now, as far as everything else though, when it comes to color calibration and things of that sort, it was a little bit inconsistent, but it did fairly a good job. So I really like the colors. Some scenarios were a little bit overexposed, which we will take a look at later on. And even the bokeh effect on here is kind of not too shabby. I don't hate it. I kind of like it, but in some scenarios as well, there's inconsistencies in focusing on the actual subject. So you can see a little bit of the subject is blurred out when it should be in focus, but that's not that big of a deal. The background is really blurred out, so it gets a thumbs up from me in that regard. Now, as far as the actual colors, the orange and the red and the yellow, they tend to be not, I don't want to say genuine, they're slightly vibrant and kind of saturated, which is nice. I like that. And they also give you a feature on this camera called lossless zoom. So there's no telephoto lens or anything like that. However, with the feature that is lossless zoom, they do crop the image. They have like a 3x zoom that tries its best with its processor and OnePlus technology to kind of give you a better quality picture that kind of gives the effect of a telephoto lens without having an actual telephoto lens. So overall, not too shabby as far as these results go. The color calibration, I found it to be decent for the most part. And remember, this is a $299 phone, so it definitely gets a thumbs up from me in that regard. And this is a scenario where the pictures are a little bit inconsistent, so it is slightly overexposed and not as vibrant as previous pictures. But if we look at dynamic range now, you will see that it kind of takes a hit. It's not that good and it is inconsistent. So I took the same picture, two different scenarios. One of the pictures did not look as vibrant or as colorful as I would like it to be. The other one looked slightly better. So you have to take multiple shots for you to get the shot that you will want. You know what I mean? But not too shabby. Again, when it comes to this photo as well, you will see that similar problem. It kind of tends to overexpose slightly and the colors aren't as vibrant, but in some scenarios and in some colors the pictures do come out vibrant. And again, when it comes to the bokeh effect, it's also decent. It does a decent job, not the best, but works really well for a phone at this price point. Now when we move on from natural light to artificial light, any camera would take a hit because it's going to rely on the artificial light and its image processing to produce pictures, but this phone seemed to handle itself fairly well, so I definitely give it a thumbs up for that. Now switching conversation to talking about the selfie camera, the selfie camera is kind of a letdown. Yeah, it's a 16 megapixel sensor, however I wasn't messing with it. It overexposes a lot. It doesn't really provide a lot of detail and it's just not good. And even when I try to focus on myself, you can see that I'm hella dark and the sky is kind of blue, but it's still washed at the same time. So yeah, the selfie camera was kind of a letdown in my opinion. So as far as the video quality, unfortunately you only max out at 1080p, so no 4K video here, and there's no mention of optical image stabilization, so you'd have to rely on digital stabilization. So take a look at this sample and I'll get back to you guys with some words on the video. Hey, what's up guys, TechTine here, and this is the camera test of the all-new OnePlus Nord N30 5G. So basically this camera kind of caps at 1080p, so it doesn't really get any higher resolution than that. Unfortunately, no 4K, but that's alright. And as far as the quality from my viewfinder, everything seems to be fairly nice. It's not as smooth as I would like it to be, but it's alright, it works. Let's test out the focus real quick, see how that goes. And we have a beautiful sunny day, so we should be good. Alright, so the bokeh effect actually works fairly well. I mean, it gets really close to a subject. You can focus on it and blur the background fairly well. So not too shabby, but it just lacks high resolution. And we'll see how the microphone sounds once I actually take a listen to it. Alright, that's your video test, or a quick video test. We out. Right. So as far as that 1080p video goes, I want to say this, right? It's not bad, but it's not the best. So with a little bit color calibration on your editing software, you can make it work. However, one of the things that I want to say is that for a phone that has a 108 megapixel sensor, I wish there was more detail, or they would have found a way to include more detail in the actual video quality itself. And the shutter speed was slightly slower than I like. However, the positive things about the video capability of this phone is that it actually focuses on subjects really quickly and for the most part really accurately. So definitely gets a thumbs up from me in that regard. And overall though, as a conclusion, as a package, this phone, the cameras on this phone, if we're looking at it in a vacuum, it actually is respectable. It takes some respectable pictures that you can use in your daily life. However, with that being said, unfortunately, this phone is not in a vacuum, right? You have other competition at similar price point. Mainly what's been taking a lot of these budget phones by storm is the Google Pixel 6a that comes in at only $299. So this phone does have competition. However, a phone is not reviewed only by its camera. With that being said, a full review of the OnePlus Nord N30 is coming really soon. Make sure you stay tuned for that, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Thank you for watching.